Okay, so fine. Then we will get into the client VPN endpoint, or so this is called as point to site VPN in other providers like AWS, sorry, Microsoft Azure or other cloud. So this is called as client VPN or client VPN endpoints. Some people call it as point to site VPN, and some people have different names. Some provider have different names. So here the point, it refers to the end user customer node or customer laptop or desktop. Here the endpoint, it refers to the customer laptops or the desktops or the device that from there they are connecting from. So there are some limits as we discussed. So there are limits of 50 customer gateway per account per region, and you can have up to 10 IPsec VPN connection per VPG. So there are some limits as on the customer gateway side and the virtual gateway side. But on the client VPN side, this is mainly on there are many different options that are available within the client VPN endpoint. So there are demos available where you can go through that completely, and you can get a better understanding. So this client VPN endpoints are mainly used for remote users, and then who are connecting from remote offices, right? Maybe there's some front office or some town office, or maybe they are located in a distant location, and there are some categories of home users, work from home users, and there might be roaming users who are connecting from different cafe shop or different locations because they are meeting up the customers, they are traveling most of the time, so they are all called roaming users. And even some cases, if your branch office has got very less number of users, like 5 users or less than that, then you can go for client VPN. You can go for the client VPN endpoint option. And so if the number of users are more, then obviously it can be a site-to-site VPN scenario. So client VPN is a managed VPN service from AWS. So you don't have to really worry about setting it up or installing the OAS and all. So it's a managed VPN service from AWS, and by default it helps you to securely set it up, and then there is very minimal configuration that you have to do in order to connect your client VPN. So this can be literally accessed from any remote locations or internet. So there is a easy way to connect to the managed VPN service. So this, once after you connect it from your local device, it provides you a secure connection endpoint. And then since it is a managed service, you don't have to really worry about AWS will take care of the deployment, upgrade, updates, and maintenance and all those stuff. So AWS takes care of the complete managed services related to stuff. And then secure connection is like complete transport layer security comes into play between the VPN client and the VPN server. So the VPN server is the managed VPN solution from AWS, and by default it has got all the high availability. So it is clustered across multiple physical data centers, multiple availability zone. So one availability zone or one VPC is not going to get impacted. So it is going to help you with high availability, and also it provides you elasticity. So automatically, based on the number of users connecting through the VPN client and the VPN software, automatically it will increase the number of appliances that AWS is providing you as a service. And also it supports a lot of authentication protocol. It supports Radius. It supports challenge CHAP protocol, and there are different protocols that it supports from authentication and authorization aspect. And also with client VPN, you can also provide granular control. I mean, you can go and give role-based access control, and you can have very granular implementation of what you want to establish. So when I say granular control, which network you want to allow, which IP range you want to allow, or which AD groups have to allow. I mean, if you want to allow access to specific AD groups or a particular radius set of users, so you have option to go and get deep into that options. There is a network based access rules and policies that you can do. This is very straightforward one. Once after you set it up, AWS manages the VPN server and the VPN solution. So only the client side of the connection is something which we need to take care of. The installing the client and all those things. It is very easy to use and manage. So there is not much complexity. Very basic configuration is what we generally do. And even from manageability option, you get all the logs, and then the client connections, the metrics, a lot of things can be monitored. So the inbuilt monitoring is there. Inbuilt monitoring and maintenance options are there. It is easy to manage, and the integration is something which is another fantastic thing that the AWS managed services provide. You can integrate with AWS directory service or Active Directory concept for authentication and authorization. You can also integrate with IAM and so on. So the integrations are already available for authentication and authorization. The users and the groups that you create can be created, and it is pretty much easy and safe to handle. So let me just a second. Just 1 minute. Okay, let me check if I have missed anything on the slide. Okay, client VPN endpoint. You can configure endpoint users established. Okay, let me see if I have missed anything from here. You can configure an endpoint to which users can connect. Yeah, that is fine. So this will help you to enable access for the remote users and so on. Okay, fine. So with AWS client VPN, so this uses transport layer security VPN connection. So what you can do is there are many different setups that you can do. You can go and create authorization rules where this will allow you allow specific AD groups or AD users or specific IP range to be authorized. So you can configure as many number of authorization rules to avoid people getting access. Like this can be integrated with any identity provider, especially Microsoft Active Directory is most commonly used for integration, and there is a range that we need to define. So that is also something which we can derive. So this is called client cider range. So what is the range of IP address that we need to configure for the private exchange, right? As I told you, the IP address that we are using on the public connection is only what will be visible for the intruders. But in fact, the end user device, the VPN client and the VPN server will have a separate private IP address range through which they will connect. And even we can also fine tune the VPN port range also, not just the IP address range. The IP address range is a private range that will be used for masking the public IP address. And then the VPN port number also can be masked, but by default, the AWS client VPN uses ports 443. This is the, again HTTP, the secure port number, and also it uses 1194. That is mainly for the data transactions and so on. So it supports both TCP and UDP, and the default it is always 443, and sometimes it might also involve the 1194 port number for some of the transaction. So the logs are pretty much default available. The connection logs, the number of how much time they have been connected, and there is a lot of self-service portal that is available. I'll show you some of the options and how to manage and how to deactivate some of the connections coming in. So client VPN, there is some limitations. I'm not sure if that has been already overcome, but when it comes to limitation, it supports primarily IP version 4. IP version 6 was not supported when I read the document, but we can check on that. And when it comes to CIDR IP range, the range has to be /22 and up to /12. So you can have up to /12 IP range. That is the block size that you can have for your client IP devices range. And then um, When it comes to security and compliance, right? So some customers will ask whether this is compliant with um, healthcare industry HIPAA, or whether it is compliant with PCA standards, or whether it is compliant with this fifth standard. This is most commonly used in the US and the states, right? So federal information processing standards. So this one, first one, HIPAA is the healthcare industry standards, and PCI is nothing but the payment card industry standard. And some customers, they are also asking whether the MFA could be integrated. So multi-factor authentication is something which we can definitely enforce. So instead of just getting authenticated with username and password, we can also have some one-time password sent to the mobile message, or you can install some client authenticator tools to have this multi-factor authentication. So this is on above and top of the default authentication, which is Active Directory based authentication, or single sign-on based SAML authentication. If you have even AWS client VPN, it supports three form of authentication. Okay, let me capture the point here so that way you can refer it later. So AD is by default supported. AD is nothing but Microsoft Active Directory. So it is supported in two format. It can be installed on your Windows Server AD and you can use it, or AWS also provides you managed AD, that is also supported for Windows Server Active Directory. And also you can go for SSO integration like single sign-on. This can be any SAML-based authentication tools that could be used, right? That completely supports single sign-on. And also you can go for certificate-based authentication that is also used in some of the customer environment. They call it as mutual authentication mechanism or methodology. So these are the three commonly used authentication option, and pretty much the authorization is also natively available. And when it comes to pricing, so it all depends on the number of hours we are using it, right? It is charged on a hourly basis. The number of hours the VPN server is active, and the number of endpoints that are getting associated, and the data that is getting transferred out from the AWS data center for whatever the data that is getting transferred out through the VPN will be getting charged. And then if you want to store some logs in CloudWatch or S3 or any specific location, so those logs will be chargeable. So it can be CloudWatch log group or S3 or whatever. So for that, there is a separate charge that are available. And if you want to do some integration, automation, and if you are using some specific elastic IP addresses and so on, so that is also chargeable if you have used some of that particular extra options. So client VPN is pretty much safe and secure option, and this can scale automatically on demand when the number of users increases. The elasticity is available, the scalability is available by default. So the client VPN, okay, I can just call it as a separate point. Scalability is slightly different. So it can scale and create more VPN servers based on the user demand. And of course, you are going to pay as per pay as you go model only. Okay, same as per the consumption, as per the number of users endpoints, you're going to pay as per the consumption model. So availability, it is very extensive. It has got three data centers, or all global availability zones are completely used. And of course, security is the primary reason why we are coming for it. And the MFA and the federated single sign-on options are going to help you with doing it. And most of the time, this if the point to site VPN is not working, what you can do is you can also do a redirection. Okay, so redirection to site VPN also can be done. If your primary option is not working, we can instruct for the secondary option or the alternate option to be utilized. So that redirection or automatic rerouting is also possible with AWS Client VPN endpoint. So at a very high level, AWS Client VPN is a AWS fully managed solution. They provide Elastic VPN as a service, so that automatically adds more VPN server and brings them down if in case the demand is less. So since it is a cloud VPN solution, customer don't have to install or deploy any hardware. No software based solution has to be deployed, no OS management. You just have to estimate the number of users supported, and you just have to play around with that. Okay, so let me just complete this one. No need to install or deploy any software or appliance or manage any hardware. So customer don't. Okay, it is AWS fully managed. So coming to the limits that was asked as a question, let me also check it here. Number of users supported in AWS client VPN. Okay, so there is a limit like this also. Okay, so you cannot IP version 6. Okay, so this is also I said, right? IP still it is IP version 4 only. Okay, so coming to the limit, the numbers. So you can have up to 1,26,000 if you have multiple subnets, Godson. Okay, so there is a huge amount of numbers that are supported, and you can also see the IP side range. Also, it supports from /12 to /22, and automatically, if you're going for AWS client VPN, the number of VPN servers that it needs, it will scale automatically. And if you're using a /18 range, it supports up to 16,000. And then if you're going for a it all depends on the IP range that you're giving, but you can see that the number of connection maximum it is 1,26,000 connections can be accommodated. So am I audible, and are there any questions on client VPN or point to site VPN?
Do we have any IPsec kind of VPN
Yeah,
or
yeah. So
connectivity?
that is the next one. The site-to-site VPN is the IPsec based VPN, where you can have a complete end-to-end connection between your on-premises data center or Azure data center or third-party data center. This is mainly used for hybrid and multi-cloud scenarios. Yeah. So that is the IPsec option, the site-to-site VPN. I'm going to come to that now. So at a very high level, the client VPN is mainly for the remote users and the branch office and the remote office. If you have a main office location and a data center location, then site-to-site VPN is the best option to configure, because we cannot go and install the VPN client on each and every machine. That is going to complicate the situation, right? So site-to-site VPN. So I'll just give you some high-level view here. So for the end users here, so what they will do is they will have their own laptop and desktop. From there will be connecting, right? So they're in their laptop. Okay, so they will have okay, a laptop or desktop. They will install the client software here. VPN client software will be installed, and they will use that client VPN software to connect to the VPN server in the remote office or remote users, home users, work from roaming users, and all these people will be using the laptops and desktops to use install the client VPN software, and they will connect to the thing. But from on-premises data center, each and every end user will not have anything, but they will have a customer gateway or a kind of setup. So this can be a firewall, or it can be a multi-purpose network appliance, or it can be a VPN client appliance that can connect all the users connecting from the on-premises